It's alive!
This height be the type of shit that keep me up at night. Never short of a breath when I spit my rhymes. Clever forms I express every fucking time. Bring me back to the light when I ain't feeling right. This life, something special when I'm on my grind. Never short of the stress when I spit the mind. But of course, never rest until I fucking die. For the more lives as I rock the fucking.
Hell yeah, welcome back to Thursday Thriller, breaking the fourth wall. I'm pre-recording this on Monday, so happy Canadian Thanksgiving. We'll kick right off. I'm jumping into the Thursday game this time because we're going to be ahead of time finally. So we'll be able to preview all of the games of the week. And then as a special treat, I've got the Underdog Best Ball Resurrection Draft that I'm going to do live. So let's kick it off.
You smiling?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Why are you smiling?
Because I love football. Football's fun.
Fun, sir.
Fun, sir.
It's fun.
Yes.
You sure?
I think.
Now you thinking. First you smile, then you think. You think football is still fun?
Yes.
Sir.
Yes. No.
No?
Sir. Well, it was fun.
Not anymore, though, is it? Is it?
No, not by.
No, it's not fun anymore. Not even a little.
All right, well, first up, we've got Broncos at Chiefs. This one's pretty easy for me. I'm actively avoiding the Broncos. The Chiefs' defense has been legit this year. Even if he had not been injured, Justin Jefferson was struggling. Jordan Addison did manage to get work, but Kirk Cousins is, I think, a better quarterback than Russell Wilson at this stage of the game. So I would be trying to pivot away from Russ. I would be looking to get away from those wide receiver options. I'm not trying to start Jaleel McLaughlin, even though he had a good game, or Samaje Perine. Again, if you are forced to because you really just don't have any other options, then put them in and temper expectations. But definitely not looking to streamline any of those players. On the Chiefs side, I feel like obviously Mahomes, Kelsey, unless Kelsey's injured, which is possible, but he'll probably play. It is a short week, though, so they could end up holding him out. So just keep an eye on that because he played through it with the Vikings. And the other thing, I think you can start both running backs. Pacheco and McKinnon are both viable to me here, so I would start both of them. And then Rashee Rice, I think you can throw in for a pot shot as well. The Broncos defense has been giving it up. So I'm looking to start Chiefs options, but I'm limiting myself probably to Pacheco, McKinnon as a flyer in deeper leagues if I really need a running back, and Rashee Rice as like a deeper flex option. That's all for Thursday. We can pretty much just wrap and kick right over to Sunday. Ravens at Titans. Man, the Ravens offense, where's this high-flying offense that we were supposed to get? I mean, it would help if any of the wide receivers could catch a fucking ball. Nelson Agholor seems to have infected the room, and he's like their leading wide receiver right now besides Zay Flowers. So it's not a good situation there, but you're still playing Lamar. I mean, Mark Andrews, obviously, because tight ends are abysmal, you're playing him. Zay Flowers as a PPR option has been legit. So it's them three, and then I'm avoiding the running backs, and I'm avoiding the rest of the assets on this team. As far as the Titans go, for me, it's Derrick Henry. You still play DeAndre Hopkins because of what we saw last week, and that's it. I know Tyjae Spears had a nice game. If you're really desperate for a running back, I can understand it. But this isn't the game script or situation where I'm looking to fit Tyjae Spears into my lineup. Kick it over. Commanders Falcons. Again, this is kind of like a grosser option. I think I'm just kind of trying to avoid playing assets in this game. You can play Bijan Robinson, who, he's so good, and yet his fantasy production hasn't been where it should be simply because Arthur Smith refuses to give him the ball. We got to see Tyler Algier take 16 carries for 45 fucking yards every week. Same way as we're watching Kyle Pitts split with Jonnu Smith right now. Drake London is splitting with Mac Hollins. Like, everyone's just splitting work with like their, mirror counterpart of like the bargain bin version of themselves. And it's just destroying this team for fantasy. Though Desmond Ridder did have a good game. And if you're looking for a streamer option or a super flex super flex option, I'm fine with Desmond Ridder in deeper leagues. For the Manders, it's Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson. The Falcons defense has been pretty good, especially at home. So I would be trying to pivot away from Sam Howell. Basically for me, it's those three options any given week though. And that's it. Curtis Samuel is a nice flex in better matchups. I actually might avoid him here, but for the most part, this is just kind of gross. This next game though, this is where we're going to get a lot of juice. Hopefully Justin Jefferson is okay. But for me, this feels like a slam dunk of the week in Vikings at Bears.
Do you want to see me dunk?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay. Are you guys ready? I'm okay. No, don't worry.
Does that always happen?
So on the Bears side, after the two explosive weeks that we've seen, Justin Fields and DJ Moore are going to be in the lineup, especially against that Vikings defense. Now, I'm not expecting, DJ Moore to go for 203 again, but I figured that they'll have a good game. The rest, Darnell Mooney in a really deep flex. If you're really desperate, I get it, but I'm not trying to do that. And the running backs, they're all hurt. They all got hurt. So whoever survived, whoever's going to be out there, they're viable this week as a low end RB2, RB3, but I'm not trying to start them actively. On the Vikings side, Alexander Madison started to make me nervous. He saved it with a touchdown last week, but the fact that he's splitting so much with Cam Akers already, I think, is telling of what the team thinks of him. They're 1-4, so it's not like they're going to lean on him. Kirk is passing at a historic rate. This is very much a passing team. Even without Justin Jefferson, you're still going to be going through Hawkinson, KJ Osborne, Jordan Addison. And I would start all three of those options and Kirk Cousins. I feel like you can start Madison in this one, but this might be the last one, I think, for a while. In any kind of negative matchup or game script, I'm going to be looking away from Madison, especially now that he's starting to actually see work get away from him in Cam Akers. Seahawks at Bengals. Fire them up. This could turn into a good one. And, I had to eat crow on Jamar Chase because I traded him away in a free redraft league. It's I have so many shares of him in Dynasty and in Best Ball. Trust me, Jamar Chase is paying off just fine for me. But especially with T. Higgins out, we saw it's going to all go through Jamar Chase, basically. Tyler Boyd may get a little bit more involved, but for the most part, it's Jamar Chase. You can fire up Burrow. Mixon, through sheer volume, is getting it done in gross fashion because of how gross the running backs are. So he's in your lineup. On the Seahawks side, really like Ken Walker and what he's been able to do this year. So he's a definite start. Also, really like DK Metcalf. Still like Tyler Lockett. JSN, the breakout, is going to have to wait. And this is a game where I feel like you can play Geno Smith because they may be forced to keep up with the Bengals here now that the Bengals have found their offense. So I kind of like just both sides of the ball here, but still sticking to the main assets. I'm not trying to get cute in these matchups. 49ers Browns. This is going to be very, to me, dependent on if we see Voldemort return, so if we see Deshaun Watson playing, I'm playing Amari Cooper even with the bad matchup, despite what we just saw with Dak and CeeDee Lamb, who are a better version of Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper. But if it's DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I'm not playing any Browns. And honestly, you probably shouldn't be playing any of them, even if it is Deshaun Watson. But I'm actively I'm not trying to start any of these guys. Jerome Ford, if you're really desperate, you have to be deciding between Jerome Ford and Latavius Murray level. or, you know, any of the Ravens running backs. Like, that's got to be the level where you're at. On the 49ers side, it's just a matter of who's going to have the big game when. So, I mean, you're still, if whenever they're active, Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, CMC, they're all in your lineup. Purdy should definitely just be in your lineup every week, regardless of the matchup. His decision-making is just so fast, and the assets that he has to work with, he's just getting the ball out of his hands so fast that nobody can defend him. That's really where it's coming from, is the decision-making and the processing level and the speed with which he's getting the ball out of his hand. So Purdy should be just an every week starter at this point. And, you know, if you could, it's weird because, like, the perception isn't quite there. Even after the beating they just gave them, I feel like you could package Dak in a piece and get Purdy in a piece. I would do that. Like, I would much rather have Brock Purdy rest of season. But yeah, you're firing up all the Niners. I don't care what defense it is anymore. And then it's just a matter of, you know, your guy might not eat that week, but you don't want to leave him on the bench for the week that he does eat. Saints, Texans. This one, I mean, Kamara is 100%. If Olave is healthy, you're starting him. Michael Thomas probably in the lineup too. Derek Carr, though, has just been kind of mediocre, and I feel like you can do better. So it would take a lot for me to have Derek Carr in my lineup, even in a super flex. On the Texans side, I mean, Nico Collins he's going to have ebbs and flows. Just, you know, it's part of having the rookie quarterback and him being a young receiver himself. But you're putting him in every week because of the upside potential that he's shown. Tank Dell got hurt, so just keep an eye on that too, because that could potentially push more targets Nico's way. I think Dalton Schultz is emerging as like an actual option in the offense, and they kind of need like a secondary option, especially if Tank Dell is hurt. And just given how bad tight ends are, like, Dalton Schultz probably is going to be a play. It's a gross play because the Saints defense is so good, but he's probably cracking the lineup. Colts, Jaguars. I mean, we saw the return of Jonathan Taylor, sort of, but then Zach Moss came in like that dude who was playing MJ in quarters. Your number one fantasy running back on the week, Zach Moss. So I think at this point, like, until we see the firm takeover from Jonathan Taylor, like, you can still put Zach Moss in your lineup as an RB2, maybe temper expectations. Maybe don't expect him to be the running back one every week, but like I said, until you see that full takeover, keep sliding him in there. Michael Pittman will have ebbs and flows. I really like Josh Downs. He's emerging as like a PPR option. And the fact that it's going to be Minshew now, because unfortunately Anthony Richardson is hurt again, which is something that I've belabored in terms of a negative aspect of his game. I understand he's big and strong, but so are NFL linebackers. And, you know, you can't just be taking free shots and expect to survive in the NFL. So unfortunately now we saw it again on the design run. He got hurt. I'm a jamoke. It's not like I know anything about injuries. It's the AC joint from what I've seen tentatively. Go follow Dr. Jesse Morse. He's my trusted follow for injury news and updates. So, you know, Richardson probably not going to play this week. He might be out a couple weeks now. So Minshew Mania is back in full force. And yeah, I think you can stream him against the Jaguars. Like, if you're staring down the barrel of Derek Carr, though Derek Carr against the Texans, that's a good matchup. But most weeks, you know, like, it is reaching bottom of the barrel, though. Like, if you're playing Minshew, you got to be either it's a streamer because you have someone on bye, or you're just really hurting at quarterback. Here's a perfect example. If you're deciding between Deshaun Watson against the 49ers, or, you know, if Watson's out in his DTR, or Minshew Mania, give me Minshew Mania. Pittman too, Michael Pittman and Josh Downs, they're startable. Just they are going to have off weeks. But this feels like the kind of game where, generally speaking, I feel like Colts Jaguars is usually pretty competitive, though. The Colts do always hilariously lose to the Jaguars, even when the Jaguars are bad. So it's curious to see how this one will work out. On the Jaguars side, Travis Etienne had himself a game and should be in your lineup basically every week. Calvin Ridley, same thing. He will have down games. He will also have wide receiver 1 games, which is why he should be in your lineup every week. Christian Kirk is a viable wide receiver 2 and flex option who should be started most weeks, but always just keep an eye out. If they are facing a team that does exclusively or very heavy zone coverage, he doesn't always succeed quite as well against those kinds of coverages, so just keep an eye on that. But for the most part, and even though he's kind of struggled a little bit mid, you're starting Trevor Lawrence because, I mean, you'd have to have some pretty beefy options. Like if for some reason you drafted Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence, like, okay, fine. But probably you took Trevor Lawrence as your quarterback 1, and I wouldn't pivot to like a Gardner Minshew, for example, in the same game. Moving over to Dolphins-Panthers, I mean, you start all your Dolphins, though. Hey, keep an eye out. Unfortunately, Devon Achane popped up on injury. Now, originally, I saw ankle. Now I'm seeing knee. If he misses time, it's going to go back to Raheem Mostert. I would not be trying to find the other Devon Achane because I don't think there is one. As much as I like a guy like Salvin Ahmed, Achane was getting it done with like ridiculous efficiency because it's like he's doing the Tyreek Hill thing where he can pop one for 80 like literally every game because he's just that fast and the scheme is that good. So if he's out, I'm sticking with Mostert, but then that's it. And I would actually, be looking more at the pass options of, I feel like it'll be a bigger Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle week. But I'm not really looking at the auxiliary options, Durham Smythe at the tight end position. I'm not really, it all goes through Tua, Tyreek, and Jalen Waddle. Those are startable assets. And then if Achane plays, I'll still flex him just because of the upside. If he's out, then Mostert is a must start. Colonel must start. Carolina Panthers side, Adam fucking Thielen. 100% is in your lineup again because he's their number 1 option. Mingo is a hold, but not necessarily a play. Like you'd have to be really, really deep to be playing him right now. Laviska Shenault, also I mentioned, is a hold right now as he seems to maybe be converting to running back. I'm not sure what's going on there. I think you can start Bryce Young in this matchup if you're really hurting at quarterback. And Hayden Hurst, he has popped up. He does get heavily targeted. He hasn't done a ton with it, but if you're really hurting for tight end, that could be like a really deep target or like a cheap DFS option. Patriots Raiders, can we just skip this? Like, don't play any Patriots anymore. Good Lord. I mean, the matchup says you can play Ramondre and Zeke, but the Patriots offensive coordinators say you can't. So what the hell is going on? You probably could throw in Mac Jones, Ramondre, or Zeke and just hope, but I'm not trying to do that. On the Raiders side, again, for me, this is Devontae, Jacoby Myers, and Josh Jacobs, and that's it. So Michael Mayer is not a thing. Hunter Renfrow, unfortunately. That's a hill that I had to die on early. I don't know how this man went from having 1,000-yard season to being totally relevant. He gets hurt. Now the team just wants nothing to do with him. And I also don't understand how he doesn't fit Josh McDaniels' scheme when McDaniels was the one for years working with the Patriots, magical slot receivers like Wes Welker and Julian Edelman and the like. So it's like, how does Renfrow not fit in this scheme? I don't understand. But apparently they just hate him, so they're just not using him. So it's Josh Jacobs, it's Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and that's it. And let's get the hell off this game. Lions Buccaneers. This is shockingly like one of the best games of the week. 4-1 Lions against the 3-1 Buccaneers. Baker fucking Mayfield is cooking right now. Now, if Mike Evans is not available, that might take the shine off Baker a little bit because of how good the Lions defense has been, but it is a home game for the Bucs. So even if Evans is out, he's going to have Godwin, that rookie kid, Palmer, the other Palmer, whatever his first name is. Apologies. I'm going to have to look that up. He's been pretty, it's Trey Palmer, I think. He's been pretty good. Cade Otton is a deep tight end streaming option. But it's Baker by hook and by crook. So I'm playing Baker as a streamer. Chris Godwin for sure. Cade Otton if I'm really desperate. Mike Evans, if he's in the game, he's in my lineup because that's just how he works. On the Lions side, it's David Montgomery, Jared Goff. You can throw in Josh Reynolds because of the mind meld that he has with Goff coming over, that they've brought that chemistry over from the Rams. It gets talked about constantly on the broadcast. But other than that, I'm not trying to play Jameson Williams or Khalif Raymond or any of those guys like in any serious fashion. Like I have a 16-team super deep dynasty league where it's like, fine, I'll throw Khalif Raymond at the end of my roster and hope that he catches a bomb, but I'm not trying to start him in any serious fashion. For me, I'm really trying to limit myself to Goff, Montgomery, and Laporta, the breakout tight end. He's been killer. So those guys are in your lineup basically every week at this point. And then the wide receivers, like I said, if Amon-Ra is active, then it's Amon-Ra. Obviously, is also lock into your lineup. But I think Josh Reynolds, he's going to have value all year, even with Amon-Ra in the game. Cardinals, Rams, this one could get ugly. If James Conner's out, I'm not playing any of the Cardinals, even Hollywood, because it just feels like Aaron Donald and the Rams defense, which is young and, they've been had. They have upside. I think they could end up kicking the shit out of the Cardinals in this one. Again, this is dependent on James Conner's availability. If James Conner is available, then it could be a little bit more of a competitive game. I'm struggling to figure out how the Cardinals are going to win this one, though, especially they just got tore up by Jamar Chase, and now you got Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua coming to town. This looks like bad news for the Cardinals. Bad news in the sense of they're probably going to take a pounding in this one, but I mean, they're on the Caleb Williams tank train, so I think it's probably good for them. On the Rams side, same old story. You can start Stafford. You can start Puka. You can start Cooper, obviously. Higbee is the one. Cardinals used to be the matchup where it was like you just always go against the Cardinals for the tight end, but I realized that isn't maybe the case anymore. And so I would just be looking to go with Cooper, Puka, Kyron, and that's it for me. I'm not trying to get cute with Tutu or with Tyler Higbee. Eagles, Jets. Oh my God. This is why I was saying sell Breece Hall, because I was trying to say like sell Breece Hall for max value to capitalize on the potential of the Denver matchup, because now you're selling on the Denver matchup that already happened. Now you're looking and saying, hey, look at this Denver matchup that happened. He had an amazing game. The schedule does kind of loosen up a little bit in the back half. It kind of flip-flops where they'll have like a tougher team and then a not as tough team. The Bills defense has kind of flip-flopped too, where they've had good games and bad games. Breece Hall did like tear a huge one against them in week 1. Shout out to I was on Twitter earlier having this argument with Chris Molina at Chris Mo 2413. Shout out to you, my man. Because he mentioned, we were kind of going back and forth, and he said that because I had mentioned the tougher matchups, and then he was talking about they also face like the Giants, they have Houston, they get the Manders and the Chargers, they get the Raiders, so they do have some positive. My biggest concern really though is the fact that it seems like Zach Wilson is locked in for the rest of the year. So it's Zach Wilson and this offensive line is going to be covering for Brees Hall. And I think that could limit his upside. Denver, I mean, besides the fact that it was the Nathaniel Hackett revenge game and they really got up for this one, they just, Denver's just really bad. And the defense is like historically bad right now. So I don't know that that's going to be the case. And if they just end up stacking the box the rest of the year on Brees, like, I don't know. I'm just very nervous about his prospective outcome for the rest of the year in redraft. This is great for his dynasty value, and I would be holding in dynasty, but in redraft specifically, I'd be looking to pivot, but it would have to be to a top option. If I could pivot into a Josh Jacobs or a Tony Pollard, and that was the one that he, again, Chris had disagreed with me on, was the Tony Pollard example. I feel like Tony Pollard will be more inclined to be involved in winning game scripts than Brees Hall for the rest of the season. But, we'll see. Maybe Brees Hall ends up being a viable volume option. But we don't got to spend too long on this game. Brees Hall, you can play him, but temper your expectations because they're facing the Eagles. I wouldn't be trying to get cute with anybody else. Maybe Garrett Wilson gets loose for one, but Zach Wilson is going to take a beating in this game from that front seven. On the Eagles side, it's the same people you always start. Even though Devonta Smith had a ghost game last week, that's just something he does sometimes. I lamented how often he disappeared on me in his rookie season and why I haven't really bought in on him since then from a fantasy perspective. But A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, DeAndre Swift, and Jalen Hurts and Dallas Goedert are all locked into your lineup. Even though the Jets defense is good, like you're not sitting any Eagles at this point. Giants Bills, this could turn into a sneaky good game too. Brian Dable revenge game. Hopefully the Giants can do some shit on offense because they look pretty fucking atrocious. Yeah, I would. I'm starting Danny Dimes if I'm really like up against it. Like I don't know how you would be this week, to be perfectly honest with you. Like if somehow you're only like, okay, let's put it this way. You're in a super flex. You have 3 quarterbacks. 2 of the 3 are Jordan Love and Daniel Dimes because Jordan Love's going to be on a bye. So you're forced to start Danny Dimes. That's like the only situation that I'm taking the chance and throwing him into my lineup. I don't even care if he does well against the Bills. That's one of those times where it's like it goes completely against logic. So I'm fine with making that mistake. And I'm not starting anyone else, even Darren Waller in this one. Like, I mean, tight ends are so bad you have to start Darren Waller, but like I would be trying to I was very much in on, I thought Darren Waller was going to crush this year. I thought Danny Dimes to Darren Waller was going to be one of the best quarterback tight end stacks in fantasy football. It has not been that at all. This offense looks broken. They're already 1-4. And if they eat this loss against the Bills, it could start getting ugly early in New York for the Giants. I might be looking to already pivot away from Darren Waller. This is how bad it is. I would maybe go see the Kyle Pitts manager and offer Darren Waller straight up for Kyle Pitts in full redraft. Granted, obviously not in Dynasty, but in full redraft, and just see what they say. If they're like, oh, if they tell me they're super far away, okay, fine. If they tell me they're like, it's close, but I'm just gonna stick with I might then throw in another small piece to kind of tip it over and maybe see if I can get that trade through. On the Bills side, I don't care how many times Stephon Diggs gets pissed off on the sideline. He's in your lineup every single week. Josh Allen, same thing. Gabe Davis at this point. The upside is just you have to put him in because you don't want to be on the outside looking in when he does have big games like he did last week. And it really is going through him anyways. Dalton Kincaid hasn't turned into a thing. Dawson Knox, is kind of splitting reps still. So he's not really a viable option. None of the slot receivers have kind of like emerged. So it really is going through Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis for the passing for the most part. So it's those 3, Allen, Davis, and Diggs. And with the running backs, man, I could not have been more disappointed in James Cook's usage last week, but I'm staying in the flames, I'm staying in the fire, and I'm still starting him week to week because A, running backs are gross and terrible. B, his talent suggests that he should pop off eventually. And C, this could be the type of matchup that turns into the James Cook week. But man, I wish they would stop using the combination of Damian Harris and Latavius Murray so fucking much. And then the Monday nighter, Cowboys, Chargers. Cowboys just got their asses handed to them by the 49ers, but Chargers are going to Chargers. So I've got the Cowboys winning this game. So I think that means you start Tony Pollard for sure. You start CeeDee Lamb. If you're hard up and you just don't have another option, you can start Dak Prescott, but I would temper expectations. I'm not expecting, 404. If he has 303, like that's at this point, I feel like the max outcome for a Dak Prescott game. But I would expect it more to be the defense causes turnovers, Charger. And I kind of see more of like a 202 game from Dak. So if you have like better options or the ability to trade him into something better, then I would definitely do that. And then on the Chargers side, you're starting Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, in deeper leagues, Gerald Everett, maybe Donald Parham, and hope for a touchdown. And that's pretty much it. I would hold Josh Palmer. You can play him in deep leagues, but I wouldn't be trying to just fit him into my lineup just because. This really feels like it's a Herbert Keenan Allen game, and I'm kind of trying to avoid the other pieces. And also, like, when's Austin Eckler coming back? If he comes back this week, coming off the bye, automatically back into your lineup, I don't care. Josh Kelly hasn't been a thing, and if he's not there, then don't try playing Josh Kelly again. Should have learned that lesson by now.
Go fuck yourself.
Josh Kelly every time fantasy managers try to play him. And now, finally, we will get into the best ball resurrection on Underdog Fantasy. Here we go. So this is basically this is essentially like drafting from this point in the season for the rest of the regular season. So we're already filled up here. Oh no, we're waiting for one person. Here we go. And we are in at the 108, my lucky number. And, it's my first year doing best ball, and, definitely been a huge learning process. But I've also been lucky enough where, obviously tonight's game is still in play, but barring anything super crazy tonight, it seems like I will crack top 50 for weekly winners, which would be nice. I'll win $450. Even if I were to get knocked down into the next category, though, I'll still win $179, which obviously is not as nice. But I mean, hey, it's better than nothing. So that's cool. I've also, my Best Ball Mania teams have been doing really well. I only drafted 2 of those, and right now both of them are top 3 in their respective leagues. One of them actually just got a huge boost. I mean, obviously Christian McCaffrey, but I also have Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle on that team. I also have Puka Nacua, which was a really nice late add. So yeah, been really enjoying a lot of the best ball stuff. I've been participating in the weeklies every week. Just winning small amounts there, honestly. I haven't like hit really on the weekly stuff. I'm still kind of feels like I'm still learning a lot of that. All right, we're going to take Keenan Allen here. I did consider Travis Kelce, but with that little injury now, the fact that he could miss another week, Keenan Allen too is coming out of the bye, so I don't have to deal with his bye week. So I get almost like an extra week, it feels like. And also just in general, I would say that hammering wide receivers is definitely, I think, the appropriate strategy for these best ball drafts, especially early on, and avoiding running backs, because it just seems like so many of the teams where I took running backs early, I just got absolutely obliterated, like especially if you pick the wrong ones. I was very much on the Nick Chubb and Najee Harris train, and obviously Nick Chubb with the brutal injury, not his fault, but still. And then on the flip side, Najee Harris being brutalized by Matt Canada's fucking offense. I think, running backs are to be avoided. Now, the elite quarterbacks are interesting because it's onesie position and because of how much they contribute. But I am going to be looking to continue stashing wide receivers. I'm looking really hard right now at CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Waddle. I think Waddle has kind of been flying under the radar a little bit with Tyreek crushing it, and it feels like Waddle could have some more explosive weeks coming up. We could also just go with Jalen Hurts, who just every week consistently is getting crazy amounts of points. We're gonna go with Jalen Hurts, actually. Even though we can get a quarterback later, Hurts is just so consistently dominant with that stupid tush push, the crack attack, the brotherly shove, the fucking play with too many nicknames. It just feels like Jalen Hurts is unstoppable right now. So I think I'm comfortable taking him. Here, we can even make this a little bit. Then I cover the draft board. Of course. Of course. All right, let's go back to this view here. I kind of made it bigger, so it's pretty visible. So Kenneth Walker, Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb go off the board. Let's go check in on the board. There's Jalen Waddle. So see, that's the only downside now is I didn't get the wide receivers I wanted. But there will be more later. And it feels like the quarterbacks that are going to be available later aren't going to be as good. Though we could have waited and maybe got Justin Fields. It definitely feels like they've found their offense a little bit, the Bears have. Christian McCaffrey and then sinks himself with Jonathan Taylor. The running backs, I tell you, I'm just not into it. Assuming Eckler comes back. Oh, man, he just keeps doubling, tripling down. David Montgomery, another running back. That's interesting. And DeAndre Swift goes. Now, this is more, I feel like, Tyreek Hill, Puka, and Brandon Ayuk. Like, that's killer. I kind of wish I could have put something more like that together. Now I'm regretting taking Jalen Hurts. I could have definitely waited and gotten Herbert. I could have gotten Fields. It definitely feels like I popped a little early on the quarterback. Watching Mahomes and Allen go off the board right before me. Kind of got the juices flowing. Mark Andrews in the third. I like that. That's a good pick. All right. Calvin really goes right before me. So I was already looking at coming down to take DJ Moore, and I am going to do exactly that. He is the whole Bears offense right now. So I'm going to take DJ Moore. I do like ETN. I was also looking at DK Metcalf, who will be coming out of the bye. So you get that again. All the people coming out of the bye on Seattle and the Chargers, you kind of get a little extra bonus of not having a bye week. So right now we've got Jalen Hurts and we've got Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. So I'm feeling still pretty good. The only thing I'm a little regretty spaghetti on is definitely could have waited on quarterback. So maybe I'll end up doing another one of these. Though I do have an extra 10. If we have enough time, I might actually sneak in one extra draft, but it's those the 6 people ones where it's only I think it's the Monday nighter and the Thursday nighter. It was a weird combo. And here goes another quarterback run. So I will say watching the quarterback run happen right in front of me makes me feel a little bit better. DK Metcalf made it all the way back to us. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and take him. He's still the number 1 game in Seattle for the wide receivers. JSN has not taken over, and I feel like even if JSN takes over, he more fits what Lockett does as opposed to Metcalf. Metcalf's just like monster. Like he's just going to out-muscle you. I think I'm just going to keep peppering wide receivers here. Though Sam Laporta is looking real sexy right there. If he makes it back to me. Yeah, there's a lot of wide receivers that I like. The tight ends dry up real fast. There goes Fields, Evans. Ooh, no. Now the tight ends are getting pushed up the board. I don't think they're going to make it back to me. I'm betting Hawk and Laporta are going to go before the 5-8. We're at 5-1 right now, so that's 7 picks. Yeah. This guy's got a tight end, so he probably won't. 2 people have tight ends. So that's Kelsey. Must be like a Kelsey manager and a Mark Andrews manager, I would imagine. Oh, very interesting. Let's see here. Now we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 picks before us. Did Laporta go? And I just didn't see. Oh, he did. Laporta went at 412. Wow. I wasn't even paying attention. Hawkinson, just by pure volume, especially if Justin Jefferson were forced to miss time, which would suck. That team's just kind of falling apart, though. Mostert was going to be an interesting consideration for me there. Do I take my first running back? I do really like Pacheco, and he's been so good. I think that's the one that I'm going to go with. We will take our first running back. And then I think I'm coming back with a wide receiver again. Oh, yeah, we got Evan Ingram very late that we can get for tight end. Christian Kirk went right after. I was really thinking about taking Christian Kirk there. Now, this is where sometimes it feels like, because I've already got the 3 wide receivers, that I'm wanting to get away from wide receiver, but that is the mistake. And that is where, with the 10 bench spots and how deep quarterbacks are, that's definitely, I feel like, the problem. Now, Hurts is worth paying up for because the rushing upside and the tush push and everything that the Eagles are doing, as long as he's healthy, he is, to me, the number 1 fantasy quarterback to own this year, even above Patrick Mahomes. And Mahomes is amazing. In real life, like, it's not close. It's Mahomes. But, man, the rushing upside that Hurts has is just insane. And then the fact that he can also do it with the passing now. Like, we just saw it was A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert that helped him get it done. All right, we're going to hammer some wide receivers. We already took Metcalf, or otherwise Lockett would be a really nice pick here. So I'm actually going to go with Chris Godwin. Nice value. I was considering Zay Flowers also, but if Mike Evans is forced to miss time and Godwin starts seeing a little bit more volume, I really like him. Also, I've done this before where I get too distracted. Let's just go and throw some people in the queue, especially for once we get down later. George Pickens is definitely going to be my next pick if he makes it back to me. I can just tell you guys that now. Just straight off the bat, he's basically the only asset worth owning anymore. The fact that Najee Harris, I haven't even seen him on this list, like, that's just how bad it's been. Fucking Matt Canada. If he's not fired coming out of the bye week, like, fire Mike Tomlin. I don't give a shit anymore. And I love Mike Tomlin, but it's just not worth it. Madison's I feel like he's gonna lose value. Miles Sanders just kind of blah. Darren Waller could still get it going. Yeah, see, Jordan Love and Jared Goff. I definitely should have waited on quarterback. As much as I like, and I keep trying to justify. Look how fucking low Najee Harris is. Khalil Herbert is injured, and Najee Harris is lower. That's how bad it's been. I might. Oh man, Najee has hurt me. So there's George Pickens. That's sad. Najee has hurt me so much, and yet I still might draft him just because of how low he's going. Zach Charbonnet is a guy I like, who could potentially take on a bigger role later in the season, especially if, God forbid, anything were to happen to Kenneth Walker. Clicking Tyjae Spears there actually pains me, but he has shown a little bit of value. Kyle Pitts, look how low Kyle Pitts is. Man, it is rough in these streets. I remember doing these in the off season, and Kyle Pitts was going in like the 3rd round, and now he's being drafted at the same level as Luke Musgrave, for fuck's sakes. This is painful. Josh Downs is a nice little sleeper. Oh, we're on the clock. I'm actually going to take Evan Ingram here, I think. Oh, do I? No. You know what? We're going to go with Dameon Pierce. Hopefully he can kind of get it going more in the back half of the year. Damian Pierce can. It's been pretty awful, but he's like the only game in town. Oh, Drake London. Poor Drake London. This is so funny. These rankings are hilarious. Especially compared to where they were before. All right, well, I've learned my lesson. I'm just going to pepper the crap out of wide receivers, I think. No. It is good to get a couple more running backs, maybe. We'll see. Let's see what falls to us. Yeah, Darren Waller was like going in the fifth. You couldn't get Darren Waller in the 6th round to save your life. He was going so high. He crept up to like the back end of the 4th at one point. All right, we're back on the clock here. Ooh. What's going on with Miles Sanders? It's just been a bad year for him. Oh, man, this is gross. Oh, we're about to get auto-drafted. Oh, well. It's going to take Evan Ingram. That's fine. It's still a good value at this point. I literally could not decide to save my life. I almost took Drake London. Throwing Michael Thomas, Michael Wilson. See, I feel like it's already kind of fallen off. Jonathan Mingo. Getting real deep with it. No, I think we're going to start peppering a couple running backs that have potential upside. I know it's been bad for Najee, but he could still turn it around. He played hurt. Oh, he's been so bad, though. And they're going into a bye week, so you know you're eating 0 points the first week you have them. Like, nah. Am I really drafting Zach Moss as my 3rd running back? Like, what are we doing here? Oh. Some of the backup quarterbacks are starting to go. That is the one thing with Jalen Hurts is I'm not taking a backup quarterback. I'm not trying to have 2 quarterbacks, really. I'll just make sure I get a quarterback with a different bye as late as possible. Oh, these running backs are just sad. Oh, man, it is rough in the running back streets. You know, it's been a bad year, though, when Najee Harris is still on the board. Like, Khalil Herbert, Zach Moss, Zach Charbonnet, Cam Akers, Gus Edwards, Tyjae Spears, Najee Harris. Fuck it, we're taking him. Maybe they change Maybe they'll change their coordinator coming out of the bye week and he'll turn it around in the back half of the season and I'll look like a brilliant fucking genius, but I really doubt that. Ooh. This is a hilarious looking team right now. I might legitimately take Darren Waller or Kyle Pitts if they make it back to me. Like, whichever one makes it back. I think I might take Kyle Pitts. It's so funny. I've lamented all offseason how bad Kyle Pitts has been. See, I kind of regret not taking Zach Moss there. Like, you assume Jonathan Taylor should take his job back eventually. I don't know that he does. This is definitely a weird build for sure. This team's going to be very reliant on the wide receiver core and the onesie positions of the tight ends and Jalen Hurts. One of these tight ends is making it back to me because I don't think this person's trying to take. Yeah, none of these guys are trying to take tight end. This is where I could see Waller going right here. And if that happens, I'm just going to take Kyle Pitts. I might take Kyle Pitts regardless. Boom, called it. All right, we're going to take Kyle Pitts here. Man, remember when Kyle Pitts was a 3rd-round pick? And I just got him in the 10th round as my second tight end behind Evan Ingram? This is hilarious. Still have lots of wide receiving options that I like, but I did get a really strong core. I am going to throw in a couple of these running backs too. Tight ends we can just eliminate. Kincaid. I do feel like Dalton Kincaid can still grow at the back half of the season. Oh, we still got a few picks to go here. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Damn. All right, well, we're already going to be approaching the hour mark, so we're definitely not going to be doing another draft after this, the little 6-man thing. Save that for another rainy day. This is, though, where you get into kind of the money picks. Like, this is where I kind of scored on Puka Nacua and those type of cats. So I feel like Josh Downs is the one that I'm really interested in. I want him to make it back to me. I think the other one that I really want is Zach Charbonnet. I do kind of want Tyler Algier just because Arthur Smith's stubbornness is going to keep him involved, even though it should just all be Bijan Robinson. All right, I think I'm going to make 2 more picks here, and I'm not going to belabor the point. Though I do have a couple like wrap-ups and announcements to make, so I'll do that, but probably won't stay through all the way to the end of the draft. I mean, if you're really that interested, though, I'm wide open. You guys can always hit me up on Twitter, on X, whatever the fuck it's called. You can hit me up on Facebook. You can always also hit me up at the fantasyfootballadvice.network. Shout out to them. Make sure that you go sign up if you're not already. There's a really awesome community over there. There's a lot of content creators that are putting their stuff out over there. Yes. Josh Downs. Thank you. Zach Charbonnet didn't make it back to me, but I'm okay with that. I really wanted Josh Downs. But yeah, sorry, I was saying there's a lot of really great content creators over at fantasyfootballadvice.network, so make sure that you go sign up. all of my articles are exclusively over there. I probably won't be doing any this week. Actually, I know I won't be doing any this week because I'm taking a bit of a hiatus. So here is the personal announcement. I am getting married this week on Friday, October 13th. Really excited about that. I'm going home to my hometown of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and going to be seeing a lot of family and friends that I haven't seen for a long time. So I'm really excited about that. And so because of that, that's why I'm pre-recording this Thursday episode on a Monday. That's why I'm going to be pre-releasing it as well. I'm also going to have my Wildcard Wednesday. I'm going to have it up, but I'm just going to leave it private basically. And then I'll just flip it public on Wednesday so that it's like released on, or I think I can set it to just release on Wednesday, whichever one of those. I'll figure it out, back end shit. But bottom line is the Wednesday episode will still go up as normal. The only one that will be missing in action is going to be the Sunday live stream because I will be in a car on the way back to Quebec for that whole day. So I will not be live streaming, but I'll be back the next following week. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining in. Go super kick that bell so that you get notified for all the weekly episodes, and catch you guys all on the flip side.
He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs at the 50. He runs at the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms, bare-chested. Somebody stop that man. Here comes